Hi everybody, I'd like to give a warm welcome to all of you out there. As you know, my name is Renee and you're watching Renee's Health Corner. Believe it or not, God really does care about your health. Last year, just about anywhere you look, sickness and disease were on the rise. In the United States alone, there was a heart attack every 40 seconds, and 1.4 million Americans are diagnosed with diabetes every single year. And then 1 out of 2 people will get cancer in their lifetime. And it was estimated there would be 1.9 million new cancer cases diagnosed and 609,360 cancer deaths were in the United States last year alone. There's also a rise for the number of strokes per year, gastrointestinal problems, arthritic conditions, lung conditions, lupus, multiple sclerosis, and the list goes on. The question is why? Many people believe God is to blame. Is that really the case though? In 3 John 2, it says that God wants us to prosper and to be in health. So if he wants us to be in health, why is disease more rampant now than ever before? What's the problem? Well, I'd like to bring something to your mind for just a moment, something many of us have learned in our lives at some point growing up, and that is, in this world, we have many different types of laws. We have civil law, natural law, the laws of physics, sanitary laws, the laws of gravity, and just for an example, with the law of gravity, everybody knows pretty much in most cases what goes up must come down. Well, there's a lot of other laws as well, but one of the laws known as natural laws, when they are neglected, the result is sickness and disease. And over a period of time of neglecting these natural laws, more severe diseases like cancer can set in. And so remember, all the information I share with you today or any other day is supported by the Bible, the spirit of prophecy, and medical research and or medical science. I won't be asking you to buy anything at all. I just ask you have a listening ear and a sharing spirit so you can pass along what you learn and maybe help somebody else someday. Now, I've been covering the subject of nutrition over the last several videos, and this is a topic that takes many weeks to uncover because there's so many aspects of this one subject. Last time I talked about MSG and the importance of reading ingredients and the hidden names of MSG and the danger and harmful effects of it. But today I'm going to be talking about juicing, and I have a lot to share here, so I'm going to get started. Dr. John Glenn Clark is a medical doctor who lectures on lifestyle medicine concerns. He was frequently approached with questions about health benefits of juicing and or the drinking of smoothies. Well, it is essential to evaluate if the origin of a health practice recommends it. Juice therapy has long been a component of the 5,000-year-old tradition of Ayurveda. And Ayurveda was a traditional system of medicine that originated in India. This ancient Indian healing tradition involves believing in universal energy called prana energy, which is believed to have traveled through the body via chakra. Ayurveda is concerned with achieving balance in the body and mind by restoring the balance of 3 elements or factors, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, which is air, fire, and water, of which the body is made. Juice is involved in the balance of these elements, and it's common practice in Hinduism for worshippers to pray to Dhanvantari, seeking his blessings for sound health for themselves and others, especially on Tantaras. Now, it's important to note that your body handles liquid foods quite differently than solids. More happens in the mouth than many realize. The immune tissue in the mouth and throat, like the tonsils, tests substances coming into the body to let our body know what's being eaten as food. Allergy inflammation and autoimmune diseases are more likely to flare up when food is not chewed long and, well, when the body has not had sufficient time to identify the incoming antigens. One technique of alternative allergists is to take a food which someone is allergic to and make a liquid tincture out of it and then have the person hold it under their tongue for 15 minutes prior to eating, thus presenting it to the testing cells of the mouth, which in turn lower the sensitivity of the body to that substance. Chewing your food long, thoroughly, and well are part of avoiding or preventing food sensitivity diseases. Now, most people making their meals liquid are not careful to follow good combining principles either. They intake a large variety of food at each meal in their smoothies or juices as though they had to balance their entire life's nutritional requirements in one sitting. This confuses the body though. Each type of food takes a different digestive approach. You may realize your body reacts very differently to a lemon than it does to a banana. Excessive variety, as encountered in a complex meal comprised of multiple diverse foods or in complex smoothies, can provoke allergy, inflammation, and autoimmunity. Now, super blenders are capable of making a drink of almost any solid food. I know because I have a Vitamix and it's wonderful. When solids are whizzed up with liquid in a blender, they are atomized into nanoparticles. And these nanoparticles then tend to absorb into the bloodstream unchecked by the unusual filtering mechanisms provided by the wall of the intestines. This is like a dangerous condition referred to as leaky gut syndrome. This has been the drawback to homogenization of milk. When these nanoparticles appear unfiltered in the bloodstream, the body develops sensitivities and unhealthy reactions. Juicing has gained considerable popularity in the alternative and integrative approach to cancer therapy. One such system is that of Gerson. Gerson therapy focuses on the role of minerals, enzymes, hormones, and other dietary factors thought to restore health and well-being. The daily regimen calls for drinking 13 glasses of fresh juice from organic fruits, vegetables, and calves' livers. I believe that part, though, is no longer done. I think they did away with that. Also, eating vegetarian meals prepared from grown fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. But do large, multiple national epidemiological studies bear out that juicing is effective for cancer? In March of 2008, someone attended a 5th International Congress on Vegetarian Nutrition. And there was over 700 people in attendance there, representing over 40 countries. The Congress was reestablished as a premier scientific conference on plant-based diets, and scientists from a dozen different countries shared the podium to impart their evidence for the efficacy of vegetarian nutrition. In many cases, they were asked not to photograph the presenter's slides as they were unpublished data. One such case was a presenter from Europe revealing his data from several countries on the benefit of vegetable consumption for the preventative of cancer. One slide showed that consumption of the recommended servings of whole vegetables reduced the risk of cancer by 30%, while for the same population, consumption of the vegetables as juice raised the risk for cancer by 30%. In other words, juicing increased the risk of cancer. One rationale often cited for the use of liquid food is that nutrients are absorbed more quickly and go straight to the cells. One example might be sugar. The removal of fiber from food or physically disrupting it by blending can result in faster ingestion and absorption, but results in decreased satisfaction and disturbed glucose control. Drinking your meals often results in the blood sugar rising faster and higher than the body can control, resulting in excessively high insulin production and low blood sugar, which is hypoglycemia. Because liquids have less fiber or disrupted fiber, people drinking their meals tend to get hungry again before their next meal. These effects favor overnutrition and, if often repeated, could even lead to diabetes. For the diabetic, juice drinking spells high blood sugar or hypoglycemia. Now, another example of unbridled absorption and subsequent health compromise is the case of oxalate. Oxalate is a component of some painful renal compromising kidney stones. People who make liquid nutrition a significant portion of their food intake have been documented to suffer from oxalate overload and kidney stone formation. Hearty chewing is part of appetite control. Liquid food is counterproductive in this regard. Juices are significantly less satisfying than purees, sauces, or smoothies, and purees, sauces, or smoothies than whole fruit. People drinking more liquid food tend to gain more weight. The faster food is eaten, the more calories are typically eaten. So So choosing foods that require more chewing can help reduce the number of calories you eat and even help with weight management. Thorough chewing increases food satisfaction and decreases appetite. The more you chew, the less food it takes to satisfy your appetite. Appetite is reduced by nerve feedback from the teeth to the brain when you chew something hard. Liquid nutrition does not engage the teeth as same as solid foods would. So liquids consumed with a solid meal do not decrease the amount of food eaten. They just tend to add to the number of calories eaten. Now, if you drink with your meal, you will tend to eat the same amount of food plus the liquid, and that will just add to weight gain. When the intestine does not sense the presence of substantial fiber in the food, the appetite is not suppressed, and overnutrition can result. People who eat more fiber will tend to eat fewer calories and be less apt to become obese and get diabetes. This effect is not limited to the meal currently being eaten. Low natural fiber content in food makes it so the person will eat a greater amount of food at the next meal too. Now, most any food or drink that raises your insulin to high levels also will raise your cholesterol, as it has been demonstrated with some forms of liquid nutrition. Digestion begins in your mouth. You need saliva and other enzymes to digest your food properly and for you to get all the nutrients you need from it. Solid food in your mouth that require extensive chewing stimulate the saliva glands to produce a greater volume and better quality of saliva to begin digestion. Saliva is rich in enzymes, cofactors, and water necessary to process your food. How hard you chew determines how much saliva will be produced and how loaded it will be with enzymes. Dry foods stimulate the glands to produce even more saliva, higher in amylase than any other liquid food. If you are drinking quickly down smoothies or juices, enzymes will be missing from your digestion and digestion will be incomplete. Nutrients from the valuable food that you are eating will be unavailable to you and you could become deficient in some necessary nutrient. People say, but I don't have enough time to eat. I'm in a hurry. Well, stress decreases saliva production. If you don't have time to eat, it's better to skip and just drink water than slurp down a smoothie. Stressed living is the source of many modern ailments. Failing to plan adequate time for meals and substituting with liquid nutrition is not healthy. For children, eating foods that require more chewing builds the jaw, spreads the teeth, and makes it more likely that they will not need braces from an orthodontist to straighten out their bite. Isn't that fascinating? That was something new to me. Juicing takes juice away from the whole fruit or vegetable. The processing results in a reduction in vitamins and minerals because the nutrient-rich skin and fiber is left behind or disrupted as in blending. In the stomach, a liquid meal just makes for more work. The excess fluid must be absorbed before serious digestion can begin. Having not spent much time in the mouth, the fluid is in danger of being warmer or colder than what the stomach likes, thus hampering or delaying digestion. Now, many people suffer with reflux disease. For the esophagus, a liquid taken into the stomach just tends to put it at greater risk for reflux and the associated heartburn. Solid food stays down much better. Fiber is the bulk in food that gives it body or fullness. When a meal complete with unprocessed natural fiber enters the intestines, it provides bulk, which stretches the intestinal walls. When the walls or the intestines sense stretching, they send a signal to the stomach to cut back on acid and digestion. Juices and smoothies with disrupted fiber do not provide the stimulus for acid reduction. The stomach continues to make too much acid, and heartburn, reflux, and indigestion can be the result. When pre-digested liquid meals such as juices are substituted instead of whole foods, the intestines of the whole, let me restate this. When pre-digested liquid meals such as juices are substituted instead of whole foods, the intestines object, and they're more prone to disease and poor absorption of nutrients. Good dietary fiber is important for the health of the intestines. It reduces inflammation, and as it breaks down, it actually feeds healthy intestinal flora. So where does all this liquid food end up that goes rushing into the bloodstream? The filters are the kidneys, and they are the ones that really suffer. Not to mention, until the kidneys do clear the murk out of the blood, you may experience brain fog even. Liquid food is a major hazard to kidney failure. I'm not saying to never take a sip of juice. Pointing out the disadvantages of some lifestyle practice is not a complete condemnation of it entirely. Now, there are situations where a little liquid food could be a life-saving, and that would include someone with a dangerously low blood sugar or someone who has extreme debilitating fatigue. We're told that food taken in a liquid state, your food would not give healthful vigor to the tone or system. But when you change this habit and eat more solids and less liquids, your stomach will feel disturbed. Notwithstanding this, you should not yield the point. You should educate your stomach to bear a more solid diet. Now, I know habits are difficult to change, and some of these practices we have embraced unwittingly, but God loves us, and He is willing to supply the power to us to make these positive changes. Aren't you glad we serve a God like that? I am. Now, we have some counsels from the Spirit of Prophecy on liquid food, and I'm going to read you some quotes. The first one is Healthful Living, page 90, paragraph 2, and it says, I am advising the people wherever I go to give up liquid food as much as possible. The dishes of soft foods, the soups of liquid foods, or the free use of meat are not the best to give healthful muscles, sound digestive organs, or clear brains. Oh, how slow we are to learn. Solid foods requiring mastication will be far better than mush or liquid foods. I dwell upon this as essential. I send my warning to the college at Battle Creek to go from there to all the institutions of learning. Study up on these subjects and let the students obtain a proper education in the preparation of wholesome, appetizing, solid foods that nourish the system. They do not have now and have not had in the past the right kind of training and education as to the most healthful food to make healthful sinews and muscle and give nourishment to the brain and nerve powers. And that quote's from FE 225, paragraph 2. That's Fundamentals of Christian Education. Now here's another quote. Counsels on Diet and Foods. I told them that the preparation of their food was wrong, and that living principally on soups and coffee and bread was not health reform, that so much liquid taken into the stomach was not healthful, and that all who subsisted on such a diet placed a great tax upon the kidneys, and so much watery substance debilitated the stomach. And another one from Counsels on Diet and Foods, same page, next paragraph, says, I was thoroughly convinced that many in the establishment were suffering with indigestion because of eating this kind of food. The digestive organs were enfeebled and the blood impoverished. Their breakfast consisted of coffee and bread with the addition of prune sauce. This was not healthful. The stomach, after rest and sleep, was better able to take care of a substantial meal than when wearied with work. Then, the noon meal was generally soup, sometimes meat. The stomach is small, but the appetite, unsatisfied, partakes largely of this liquid food, so it is burdened. Now, we're also told in Second Manuscript Release, page 217, not to give liquid food to students. It says, the much liquid food, the pastries, the desserts prepared for the table after European hotel fashion is not the proper food to place before a hungry lot of students whose appetites are keen to devour the most substantial food. The very best cook should be employed. If I were speaking to your own family, I would say the same. But it is not merely your own family. It is in behalf of God's heritage of children I am speaking. No one person's ideas or tastes or customs or habits are to control the boarding house table, but obtain the very best cook and have helpers that she, as the matron in the kitchen, shall oversee. The students pay for their board. Give them good, solid, nourishing food. Another quote, Ministry of Healing, page 301, says, grains used for porridge or mush should have several hours cooking. But soft or liquid foods are less wholesome than dry foods, which require thorough mastication. Another quote from Review and Herald, July 29, 1884, paragraph 7. It says, food should not be washed down. No drink is needed with meals. Eat slowly. Allow the saliva to mingle with the food. The more liquid there is taken into the stomach with the meals, the more difficult it is for the food to digest, for the liquid must first be absorbed. And then she says, very hot food ought not to be taken into the stomach. Soups, puddings, and other articles of the kind are often eaten too hot, and as a consequence, the stomach is debilitated. Let them become partly cooled before they are eaten. And that's Review and Herald, July 29, 1884, paragraph 8. And then the next paragraph, paragraph 9 says, in order to have healthy digestion, food should be eaten slowly. And the benefit you derive from your food does not depend so much on the quantity eaten as on its thorough digestion, nor the gratification of the taste so much on the amount of food swallowed as on the length of time it remains in the mouth. And another quote from Youth Instructor, May 31, 1894, paragraph 7 says, many have misinterpreted health reform and have rejected perverted ideas of what constitutes right living. Some honestly think that a proper diet consists chiefly of porridge. To eat largely of porridge would not ensure health to the digestive organs, for it is too much like liquid. So, if I have like oatmeal, which she's talking about porridge, or cream of wheat, put some nuts in it, or some raisins, or, have some toast with it, or something more solid, because you don't want to you can basically just put cream of wheat in your mouth and swallow it. You don't even have to chew it. Pretty much oatmeal too. There's very little to chew with that. But anyway, another quote from CCH, Counsels to the Church, 224, paragraph 5. I'm not reading the whole paragraph, just some of the highlighted parts. It says, in fact, the more liquid there is taken with the meals, the more difficult it is for the food to digest, for the liquid must be absorbed before digestion can begin. And then 21 Manuscript Release, page 290 says, I have recently left off the use of all liquids, such as homemade coffee with my meals. She's talking about the cereal coffee, not caffeinated coffee. I eat my food as dry as possible. The result is excellent. In the morning, I take lemon and water. I drink nothing between meals unless it be occasionally some lemon and water. And then Counsels on Diet and Foods, page 436, says the pure juice of the grape, free from fermentation, so not alcoholic wine, is a wholesome drink. And then she says in 5T, page 356, paragraph 1, a sentence there says, cider and wine may be canned when fresh and kept sweet a long time, and if used in an unfermented state, they will not dethrone reason. So if it's fermented, it will dethrone reason. So anyway, 6 Manuscript Release, page 135 says, we are now expressing juice from the oranges and canning the same. So they've taken the juice from the oranges and canned it. And so they could have the juice for whatever they needed it for. But anyway, there's so what is a good juice for cleansing the body, people might ask. And so you want to know what the best is for cleansing the bodies? It's Christ remedies. They cleanse the system, we're told in Second Selected Messages, page 288. Well, what are those remedies? Well, pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. These are the true remedies. Ministry of Healing, 127. Another thing is you can fast for a day or two. Go on a special program called the 2-month program, which I'll probably do a video on someday. And that includes herbs that will clean your blood and your liver. You can't just clean the blood and not the liver. You have to clean them both at the same time. And the only juice that is recommended in the spirit of prophecy in the Bible is fruit juice. And that is only for special occasions like weddings or stomach problems, hot weather, or something like that. So people say, well, what about carrot juice? Well, are carrots a fruit or a vegetable? They're a vegetable. So can you find anywhere in the Spirit of Prophecy or the Bible where people drank vegetable juice? Remember, everything we do, it has to come from the Bible or the Spirit of Prophecy, not man's ideas or suggestions. And carrots are a hard vegetable. So we have counsel too that we shouldn't be juicing hard or eating hard vegetables raw. So when you juice them, of course, they're raw. So the prophet tells us in 3 selected messages that all who believe that the Lord has spoken to Sister White has given her a message and will be saved from the many delusions that come in the last days. And we have lots of them. Many people have brought in many delusions in our health message because they either don't know the counsel given to the prophet or they don't follow it. And God gave us his counsel, so he knows what's best for us. Now, like I said, carrots are a coarse vegetable. That means hard. And we're told in education, page 204, that tea, coffee, fine flour, bread, pickles, and coarse vegetables, candies, condiments, and pastries fail of supplying proper nutriment. Many a student has broken down as a result of using such foods. Okay, did you hear where Sister White said we should know what foods are deficient in minerals? And did you see how she listed several of them? And one of them was coarse, hard vegetables. So I'll tell you why they are listed as deficient in minerals, because they have to be cooked in order for an enzyme to be broken down. Without cooking, iodine is stolen from the body, causing all types of problems, including hypothyroidism. Now, carrots are raw when people juice them. And the reason carrot juicing seems so good is because although the raw juice is not good when people juice, they are basically on a fast. They're not eating oils and sugars and refined foods, and so they're going to see benefits. But it's not really from the raw carrot juice. It's from the fast that they're doing. So do you know what the best fast is that Sister White says we are to do when we're sick? Counsels on Diet and Foods, page 189 says, intemperate eating is often the cause of sickness, and what nature most needs is to be relieved of the undue burden that has been placed upon her. In many cases of sickness, the very best remedy is for the patient to fast for a meal or two, that the overworked organs of digestion may have an opportunity to rest. A fruit diet for a few days has often brought great relief to brain workers. Many times, a short period of entire abstinence from food, followed by simple, moderate eating, has led to recovery through nature's own recuperative effort. Wow, that's amazing. So she mentions 3 types of fasting: fruit for a few days, entire absence from food, or moderate eating. Now, was anything mentioned about juicing vegetables? No. In fact, in the very last sentence, she said that we are to have an abstemious diet. Now, this is the key. Most people want to juice, and they want to, juice herbs even, but they don't want to do an abstemious diet, which will bring healing faster than anything else. Do you know what an abstemious diet is, according to the prophet? We need to know that if it brings healing in 1 to 2 months. So here's the quote. Counsels on Diet and Foods, page 102 says, I advise you to make your diet abstemious. Be sure that as a rational Christian sentinel, you guard the door of your stomach, allowing nothing to pass your lips that will be an enemy to your health and life. God holds you responsible to obey the light he has given you on health reform. Eat much more sparingly and eat simple food which does not require heavy seasoning. Your animal passion should be starved, not pampered. The simpler your diet, the better it will be for you. Now here's the 5 things that make a diet abstemious. Eat sparingly. Number 1. Number 2, eat simple food. Number 3, guard the door of your stomach. Number 4, allow nothing that would be an enemy to your health. And number 5, no heavy seasonings. So if you're going to eat more sparingly, you're not going to have like 20 different dishes, and no piling on your food and going back for seconds and thirds and fourths. She says we should fill our plate once and not too much. I have personally heard a couple times that our stomachs were not designed to take in more than like 4 cups of food at a time. I think if you Google it, I think it says the stomach holds about 4 cups, but many people eat way more than that. Anyway, we're supposed to eat simple food, fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds, nothing passing our lips like condiments, store-bought ketchup, mustard, barbecue sauce, nothing with vinegar or MSG like Bragg's and soy sauce, hot peppers, spices, white products, additives, food coloring, baking soda, baking powder, sugar, refined sugar, I'm talking about, not honey or maple syrup, refined salt. We want to use good healthy salt like Celtic or pink Himalayan or real salt. Now, food that doesn't require a lot of seasonings. Veggies don't need a lot of seasonings, just basically a little salt and they're great. Now, how many of us can say that we really eat like that? So getting back to the juicing, if we're juicing carrots, that food is in a liquid state. So remember, I'm referring to vegetable juice, not fruit juice, because we can have fruit juice. And so she says so much liquid taken into the stomach isn't healthful, and it placed a great tax on the kidneys. Remember that quote I read earlier. So what happens to the body? That's not good when we take all that liquid in, And so it debilitates the stomach, and that's not good, and puts the tax on the kidneys, like I said. That's another bad thing. So guess which 3 food items Sister White tells us to encourage others to eat more than any other food items? She says we should eat these 3 items instead of so much liquid food or mush. And the 3 items she says we're to encourage others to eat are fruits, vegetables, and bread. That's whole grain bread, not refined, not white flour, unbleached flour bread, but different whole grains mixed together. And the best combination she says we are to have is whole grain, rye, and oatmeal. So when I've made bread with oatmeal and rye and whole wheat flour, it's delicious. So we also have to do fresh air, sunshine, water, exercise, trust in God, along with some good herbs to cleanse our system. And it's not hard at all. It's very easy to do. You have to pray, and the Lord will help you. So what was the recovery percentage rate in Sister White's Day for Healing? And they didn't even use vegetable juice to get that percentage. So the recovery rate was this. And here's the quote, MM 223. If the sick and suffering will do only as well as they know in regard to living out the principles of health reform, perseveringly, then they will in 9 cases out of 10 recover for their ailments. So what's the answer? 90%. That is a huge percentage rate for those whose doctors say they have no chance of living. I mean, who are they? They're doctors. They're not God. They can tell you that you're not going to live a week or a day or a month or whatever, and they might guess it right. But in the end, God is the one who decides if he's going to heal or not. So 90% is amazing. And even today, doctors can only give you like a 40 to 45%. So we have a far superior amount by obeying God's remedies for getting healed. Now, there's some other things that we're told about rest and trust in God, that, we use the simple remedies and the herbs and the air, and we're told how to breathe properly even, put your hand on your stomach and breathe in. Does your stomach go in or out? Your stomach needs to go out when you breathe in and go in when you breathe out. So stomach out, stomach in. That's the proper way to breathe. Watch a baby. If you're ever around a baby, babies breathe properly. And then somehow, somewhere along the way, we start breathing the opposite way. I had to really concentrate at first when I heard this to change, but now I automatically breathe right again. We also need to know how to do water treatments and plenty of sunshine, when to go in the sun and how long to go in the sun and how to benefit from it. We need to know how to dress healthfully. And one of these days I'm going to do a video on dress too. And we must include dress for healing. The basic 8 laws don't talk about dress, but we actually have 14 laws of health, and dress is included as one of the laws of health. So Sister White didn't talk anywhere anything about juicing vegetables. We're told to eat the vegetables, not juice them, and we're also told to cook them. Now, you don't want to cook them till they're mushy, but you cook them until they're just tender. And another helpful tip is when you're cooking vegetables, bring your water to a boil first, then add the vegetables. Otherwise, they get too waterlogged and don't cook properly. And so anyway, so if you want to detox and cleanse your body, you can fast for a meal or two or a day or two, go on this 2-month program, make an herbal formula that will cleanse your blood and liver. And I know Sister White talked very highly of red clover, and that is excellent for the blood. It can soak in warm water a couple times a week. Taking a bath is very beneficial. I know I take a shower every day, but 3 times a week at night I just get in the bathtub and sit in the tub for about 30 minutes and just relax. It's very good. And you can do a charcoal poultice over your liver to detoxify it. You can eat very strictly. You know, like I said, sunshine, walking, dressing right. Even do deep breathing exercises. Those are very good too. Now, anyway, these are not my words, but these are words that Jesus gave us through his prophet. And I want to share another quote with you, how we all have to speak the same things. It's straight from the spirit of prophecy. If anyone tries to teach health to you, be sure they back it up with the spirit of prophecy from several quotes and not just one. Now here's the quote. Honest souls will see the straight chain of present truth. They will see its harmonious connections, link after link, uniting into a great whole, and will lay hold upon it. The present truth is not difficult to be understood, and the people whom God is leading will be united upon this broad, firm platform. He will not use individuals of different faith, opinion, and views to scatter and divide. Heaven and holy angels are working to unite, to bring into the unity of the faith into the one body. Satan opposes this and is determined to scatter and divide and bring in different sentiments, that the prayer of Christ may not be answered. Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they all may be as one, as thou, Father, art in me and I in thee, that they also may be in one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. Jesus designed that the faith of his people should be one. If one goes forth preaching one thing and another differing with him preaches something else, how can those who believe through their word be one? There will be a difference of sentiments, and it's true, because I hear so many different things that people try to teach regarding health, and it's not in line with the spirit of prophecy. Like juicing, many people teach juicing, and to eat all this raw, that's not our health message. And many people are teaching use vinegar. That's not our health message. I did a video on vinegar, so if you missed it, go on my YouTube page and look for it. We're not to be using vinegar. And we're told that God's people are to speak the same things. And so if one says juicing vegetables is good and the other one says it's not, how are people going to know what's right and what's wrong? We need to be in one accord. We need to know what the Bible and the spirit of prophecy say. And another quote in 4T 391 says, many are going directly contrary to the light which God has given to his people, because they do not read the books which contain the light and knowledge and cautions, reproofs, and warnings. So, brothers and sisters, all we have to do is read our books. That is where we get our health message. We don't go to any guru in the world because they don't know what God has told us. You know, they might guess some things right, but mostly doctors are only doing what they're taught in medical school, and they have very little time that they learn about nutrition. All they're taught is, if you have this problem, take this pill. This hurts, oh, take that pill. You have this ache, this pain, take this medicine. They're not taught how to get to the root of the problem or find out what the problem is. They're just taught to dish out medication for whatever it is you're telling them bothers you. So, because Sister White spoke so much against porridge, smoothies are definitely included, because, like I said before, juicing is bad, but smoothies is the same thing. You're just eating that liquid food. So, you know, if God has any new light to communicate to us, he will let his chosen and beloved understand it without their going to have their minds enlightened by hearing those who are in darkness and in error. And that's Early Writings, page 124. And then also the pioneers tell us a Scotchman is launching this new form of vegetarianism in Paris. Its members eat and drink nothing but uncooked vegetable foods and natural liquids. So you see, this came from a Scotsman. And it was a man from Paris who's not of our faith who started this eating and drinking raw fruits and vegetables. So, the Bible doesn't say don't smoke, but it does say don't defile the body. And when the Spirit of Prophecy says don't take food in a liquid state, that includes smoothies and vegetable juices, And so one more thing, if vegetables are not cooked, they steal the iodine from the body, as I mentioned before, which produces weakness. And the vegetables need to be cooked until tender, not mushy and yucky. Who wants to put a piece of broccoli in their mouth when it's just all soft and mushy? It's still, my broccoli, when I cook it, it's still nice and green and bright, but it's tender. It's not crunchy. So anyway, if vegetables are cooked properly, you're going to get the proper nutrition and enzyme you need. Now, we're also told that many strange things have been brought into our health message, and this is one of them. So we need to stick to what's been given to us. And if we do this, we're going to see excellent results. As I said, 90% of the sickest people can recover and have recovered, but they have to follow everything strictly. And because the Word of God has been neglected, strange things were done in the medical missionary work, we're told, in Counsels on Health, page 370. And one last thing, remember that God's people are to speak the same things. Remember what I just said about that. That is so important. I can't say that enough. And like I said, the reason we don't is because many people don't read our books, or they don't understand what they're reading, or they switch it up because I've heard people say, well, it helped me so much. Well, yes, juicing did help them so much, but that doesn't mean that that's what we're supposed to do. God winks at our ignorance, but once we learn the truth, then we have to do what God tells us to do. He made our bodies, and He knows what's best for them. Anyway, I have read every one of our health books, but how many can honestly say that they have? I've read them over and over and over because I loved it. I was so interested in it. I just wanted to learn more and more and more. So read our health books. I highly encourage that. Anyway, well, that's my time for today, and I hope that what you heard on here is a blessing to you and to your family. And until we meet again, may the good Lord bless and keep you throughout the new week. And remember, God loves you, and He wants you to be in health. So eat that which is good.